Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here because we know everyone has been impacted by COVID-19, and we know that we can't meet face to face. And often with Tom Alford, we get porch time where we get to have those frank, open, honest discussions. So here we are. We're going to meet virtually for porch time. And the first question I think that is on everyone's mind is Tom Alford's opinion of the future, the vision of live events industry. So with that, let's kick it over to Tom.
Well, I'm not sure my opinion's worth a whole lot more than others, but I have great hopes for the live events industry. I'm very positive about it. I think one of the outcomes of all this mess with COVID is that people see the need even more than ever to be together face to face, be with their fellow man and woman and interact in a live environment that's not virtually live or at a distance, but really sitting next door to one another. I think the bigger question on so many people's mind is the when of that for our events. And I'm fairly positive, looking forward on that as well. I think this fall we're going to see some small events as the cities lighten up and allow us to meet and those rules are removed. We're already having many clients talk to us and wanting to get together, talk to different producers and friends, every week, because it's what we can do right now, right? And my bosses as well. And actually today I was out at lunch and I was listening, and it was an interview with the CEO of Disney. And he was talking about how people were not canceling their reservations at the parks and on the cruise ships in the future, even though they can, because they want to get out. And I think that's just part of human nature. So it's a matter of everybody feeling safe and being government allowed to. But I'm really feeling like our industry will be back at the first of the year. We may start off a little slow, I'm not sure. But I really think that when January gets here, we're really going to see things start. And then once people feel safe, I think there's a lot of pent-up demand, and all of us, staff, freelancers, friends in the business, are going to be back to being busy. A lot of things can happen. We've got to see if the disease rears its head back up. But it's a new normal, and I think people are going to learn they have to deal with it. And we've had other instances in our past that we had to deal with, and this one has definitely been difficult. But I think our industry will come back strong, and I'm looking really forward to that day. Got another question for me?
Heck yes. So first want to acknowledge a couple of people that have logged on. So Melanie and Allie tell us hey, and hi Becca. So we appreciate y'all watching. I think the first question will start very topical. This SpaceX launched today, and Elon Musk made some tweets last week that he was not feeling so much love from Alameda County out in California, where his factory is, and he might move it to Nevada or Texas. What do you think about a Tesla factory here in Texas?
We'd love to have anybody that wants to open up a business in Texas. We got people that are rearing and ready to go to work. Last year I was hopeful we were going to be making hot sauce here in Texas from Southern California, but they relented. We'll make cars in Texas. We're a business state, and we're all wanting to get back to business, so bring it on.
Excellent. We have a few more people join us. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Daniel. Let's see. We got one pre-submitted question. Thanks for that. From someone who worked way, way back in the day, like in the early 90s, Francisco, and he worked with Francisco and Mike in Cancun, and they were wanting to reignite the partnership. Can you tell me what that was in the early 90s and how we're going to partner with them now?
Yeah, a gentleman that contacted us, a young man named Solomon, actually came and trained with Alford for a couple of months in the mid-90s. But in the early 90s, I met Francisco Cabrera, who's still a great friend of mine in Mexico City. And I would make trips to Mexico. They were having trouble dealing with American companies because we kind of deal on a different time frame than perhaps they did. And so I went down and helped them with some shows. And in return, he helped me. At that time, we did many more shows in Mexico than we do today. I'd love to see that restart, and Americans feel comfortable being down there. But our families became great friends over the years. His daughter went to school here in Dallas. But what we did is the first person was his nephew, Miguel. And Miguel lived with me for 2 months and then traveled with the crew for 4 months, learning how Americans do shows and the speed with which we work and took that back. Then over the years, I think 5 or 6 other young men came anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months and lived here in Texas and then traveled around the United States. And actually, when my farm was hit by a tornado back in 17, Francisco called me and said, I'm 72 and too old to be of much help, but I'll send you Miguel. And Miguel was 20 when he came here and learned AV business. He's now 45. But he lived at our home for 10 days and repaid the favor by helping us get electricity and things like that back up out there. So I hope we can go down and work with Solomon and them soon.
Awesome. So one of the fun things that we do every 2 years, we have a biannual conference where we invite staff, freelancers, every once in a while, a guest speaker. We do that every 2 years just to get like a state of the union and a plan for the future. What is maybe like one of your favorite conference memories?
Well, there's a lot. I think like many things, your first of anything is always kind of special. So our first one was in Port Aransas, Texas, and there was only 21 of us. I think this last year we were around 90, so quite a change. But we were staying at a small inn there, and after 2 days of pretty intense conferences, it was really at that time it all focused primarily around video because we were trading over to everything being component. We've come a long way since then, but at that time that was new. And as a fun event, we took everybody out fishing on a charter boat. And out of the 21 people I took, 16 of them were at the rail most of the day. Tom Stimson, who was on my staff at the time, it could be a bit of a pill at times. Him and a gentleman named Kelly Cutler, they threw up for 8 hours straight. And the crew really enjoyed that, and I don't think has ever forgotten it. There's some great pictures. But every conference, we've had some great memories. But that one definitely sticks out. We've not gone on a fishing trip since then in a large boat.
I think that is a good choice. Yeah. We stay on land now most of the time, I believe. And viewers, if you have a question for us, go ahead and ask. We are here. Something I say all the time, no filter. And everyone who knows Tom Alford knows that he's a straight shooter. He's going to tell it like he sees it. So go ahead and ask away. Hey, Karina, see you there. So next question. Tell me, it's kind of a two-part question. What is like your favorite vacation destination? And the two-part is one with family. And then what is your favorite vacation destination? Maybe just like you and Patty.
Well, when I think of family, of course, Patty's.
Well, yeah.
I think Alford as an extended family, probably our greatest vacation ever was actually in the Amazon with a gentleman named Phil, and we had all the Alfords except for mom and dad in the jungle and fishing for a week, and way too many memorable stories to discuss. But as a typical rule, me and Patty like to go places that are cooler than Texas. Because of the farm and AV, we're normally very busy most of the year, and so we try to go in late summer before things get crazy in AV business and things have slowed down out at the farm as well. And especially as we've gotten older, we like to go somewhere where it's cool. So we've gone to Northern California several times. Mendocino is a small town we like. Last year we made our first trip to Maine and Nova Scotia, across the border into Canada, and we'll definitely be going back. We loved every moment of it. And I like history and I like the outdoors, and that area, Maine has a lot of both. So, and Patty enjoys that as well. So we had a great time, and we'll definitely be going back. For Tom, and sometimes this is with Patty, and sometimes it's with guys here at the shop. I am a fisherman and an outdoorsman. So me and Patty went on our 25th anniversary actually to Alaska, and we did Park Town, and then we went on a fishing lodge for 5 days, which was a great time. My son Michael and I, my son Danny, we always have fished together. So any place I can go do that. Canada is one of my favorite destinations, a place called God's Lake, and look forward to going back there soon.
Excellent. And we did get our first question in from Jonathan Bentley. He wants to know, when do you think is the soonest we'll get back to work?
Well, some of us are working now, so we are working, albeit at a much reduced capacity. I think during this fall, I think it's going to be a slow ramp up. So what for us at Freeman, first quarter is July, August, September. We're definitely already booking more virtual events. I kind of hate that word, but because they're not virtual, they're actually events, they're just online. But events that are broadcast out over the internet to remote locations, that is already picking up. As soon as people are allowed to meet in groups of, say, 100, I was speaking with Ken Sanders last week, and he's really connected with the hotel industry still. And they were saying like the Caesar hotels were actually extremely booked for all their smaller rooms already in the fall, some at capacity as they got into the last quarter of the calendar year. So I think as soon as that lightens up, people will be having those meetings. And like many things, out of those smaller meetings, what they're going to talk about is their big meeting. So I think it'll be first year before we're all back to work and whatever new normal that is. I think that's still to be discovered. But we will ease into it in I'll do calendar year because everybody knows that, in the third and fourth quarter, and in the first of the next year, I really think that we'll be back full force.
Excellent. Just want to say hi to Sean Logan and Cage if you're watching. Hi.
And Casey.
Yeah. And Casey too. What she might be working during the day here. We've got another question. Robert Fairclough has asked, do we have any visions for different staging designs and layouts and footprints for live events?
Not particularly, except both with clients and here, I think our first event's coming back. Instead of the uber widescreens that I think all of us got used to doing, the sets were super widescreen, that having things that are video friendly, 9x16 format like me and Rachel are speaking on today, I think are really going to be pretty key coming back. There may be other video backdrop, but making sure that it shows well to be streamed, because I think even if there's a group of 300, it may be a meeting that last year was 1,000, and so 700 are at home. So I do think that most of them are going to be geared around being able to be both streamed and live and look really great in both. Whereas I think we're kind of known for maybe super events that look great in a ballroom, but the 200-foot wide screen, even at 20 feet tall, will look like a small ribbon on video. So the focus initially is going to be on making sure it looks good to those who cannot attend. And we can do that. I think we can do a great job at it.
Excellent. So tell me, how are things out at the farm? For those of you that don't know, Tom has a farm out in Emory. And so one of the first things I wanted to ask you about is, just how are things in general going on at the farm?
Well, the farm's actually obviously a bright spot because when I'm stressed out and been on one too many Zoom meetings and asked one too many questions that I can't answer well, my wife laughs at me, but I like to put my hat on, get my cigar, and go sit on the tractor and move dirt or plow something. And this time of year, of course, things are beautiful because everything's green. We've had a lot of rain. Matter of fact, it's been raining this week. We just finished our first ever U-Pick strawberry season. Of course, we weren't planning on having COVID lockdown, so we did it by invitation only, or reservations, I guess I should say. But we had a lot of families were able to come out and get out, and it's in a large area, so they were safe. We are starting this weekend, will be our first official weekend being open for blueberries and blackberries, which all of y'all listening, come out if you're in Texas, anywhere close, come out and see us, advertisement. But it is a great way to get outside, and we're looking at a great, season. Some may not realize I think people in town don't really care what the weather is because it's not raining in the house. When you have a farm, you really care, and it rained all but 3 days in March. So that was a little difficult, and a lot of things are running late. We also do farmers markets. We'll be in Denton this weekend again, but it's really been a bright spot. It's something we like to share with people. We had the Jamies, as we call them, the Jamie Haygoods, and their kids out last week, and there were still a few strawberries. It was the day, I think, before we plowed them under, but anybody's welcome, if nothing else, just to come out and get away and get out of the city. It's not a bad drive, and it's a nice place, but I've always wanted to work from home more. As I've told many people, I didn't want to be told I had to. Fortunately, we were blessed this year in getting great internet at the farm last August. We put up a 60-foot radio tower, and except for extreme electrical storms, and it's really been a blessing during this time of having to work from home. So, farm's great. Come out and see us.
Awesome. Yeah, and even this here in Dallas, it rained on and off over the whole Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was kind of a bummer. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the farm. I have a specific question. So I know that you have belted Galloways, also known as Oreo cows, and viewers, do not open another tab and look it up. We've got a picture for you.
Yeah, so we chose belted Galloway cattle. You see them there, and you can see why the kids call them the Oreo cookie cows. And we have both dark chocolate and milk chocolate on the farm. But we chose them for several reasons. One, we were looking for a breed that was fairly docile and a little smaller because neither my wife nor my son runs most of the farm, and my wife's the people person for everybody, were raised around cattle. So a 2,000-pound limousine or Angus bull seemed like a poor choice. Although a 1,200-pound one that thinks he's a dog and pushes against you is not great at times. And then also studying them, their meat is actually, if they're grass-raised organically, which we do, it's less cholesterol than chicken. It's very much like eating buffalo. So it's extremely healthy beef. It grows well on grass. And when I started looking them up, an old friend from Killeen actually had the largest herd in the state. And it's a gentleman who's a retired veterinarian, but I was able to call him and discuss it and feel good about getting into it. And the other big reason is just the kids absolutely love them. We try to always have babies in the spring so that when the kids come out for U-Pick, they can see them. So that's why we have belted Galloways. And so far, we've never had lost one, except unless we ate it, and we lost it on purpose. And we've never had childbirth problems, which those of you who know cows can be a real problem.
I imagine. So we did talk a little bit about the weather, the rainy weekend, but now I want to go a little bit back in time. So back in 2016, we had an EF0 tornado come through the office, and it tore an AC unit off of our roof, and it tumped over one of our trailers. Thank goodness it was empty. What do you remember about that day?
Well, the big thing I remember, believe it or not, I was actually at the farm that day. It was a Tuesday. It seems like everything bad happens. 9/11 was on a Tuesday. That tornado event, I'm pretty confident, was on a Tuesday. And I forget exactly why I had to be there, but my wife needed me home for that morning. And so as has happened both times, Gary Scott said something along the lines of, "Oh crap, we got to go. I'll call you later." And just because this windstorm was blowing in. But really the main thing I remember is our good friend Wayne Taniguchi, who's a consultant with Freeman and with Alford, and lives in California, and they don't have Texas storms. And he had asked me several times in the past what to do in the event there was a tornado. And so I told him to come in our theater or the bathroom, and I personally didn't want to die in a bathroom. And when he came around the corner, he's telling me later, our outside door, which is a heavy entrance door to our building, was swinging wildly. Matter of fact, it ripped it off the hinges. We had to have it fixed. And I think his response was hell no, so he ran into another room. And he called and wanted to know why we couldn't just have earthquakes like normal people and had to put up with these storms. So I think that was the biggest thing. And then getting a call back that they said it wasn't a tornado, but one of the air conditioning units was sitting in the parking lot, and there were holes in the roof, and it was raining indoors, which is never great for AV gear or people. So it was definitely a memorable Alford day.
Absolutely. And we have another question from Aaron Cobb. He says, this year seemed to be on track for record bookings, and we were going to have a crazy busy year. Do you think that clients will want to take advantage of the cancellations to reduce their budgets over the next couple of years?
That's a tough question. A lot of it, I think really the answer to that question is going to depend on how the economy comes back, which if you watch the crazy stock market, I think which I don't understand. I believe personally that it will come back a little bit slow because of unemployment. Might not be back as fast as we would wish, but obviously a lot of people who do financing for a living feel like that's not true. But show sizes are really they're built around forward outlook. What are they going to get out of that show? How they're going to increase sales? So if they think that market is out there, no, I think there'll be some very large shows. I don't think like after 9/11. We had shows where we were asked not to be flashy because it was inappropriate, but they were the same budgets. I think people may want to get back and celebrate when this crap's behind us. It'll just really depend on what the economic outlook is. Most of them did not, by the way, did not want to cancel those shows. We had people that held on until they literally could not have it, and it was going to be a record year in many ways before this happened.
Yes, I can see that for sure. So let's switch topics a little bit. Tell me, what is your favorite way to spend time on a bus?
Well, my favorite way to spend time on a bus is not to be on a bus.
Yeah, right.
I prefer a car, pickup, or a plane. A boat, actually, would probably be my favorite. But if I'm on a bus, talking to those around me is pretty high on the list. Having a good drink, and then falling asleep and passing the time would be my last. And so that's how I. And if I'm a passenger in a car, by the way, because I prefer to drive, but if you ask my wife or son, they accuse me of sleeping when I'm driving. But obviously not true. I'm still alive. But I do I like to pass the time pretty quick. So that's my favorite way.
All right, and I'm sure Allison is going to kill me for putting that photo
awake.
up. Yeah. All right. So everyone, most people that knows us knows we're a little weird. We're a little different. And one of the things we do, or we encourage, is we get to dress up for Halloween. Tell me, as a child, what do you remember dressing up as? Like, what was your favorite character?
Well, we lived in the country, so we didn't do a whole lot of Halloween. We had to, go to town or go to two neighbors' house. But knowing me and my favorite characters back then, and I think I even remember having the hat, I probably went as Daniel Boone more than one year. Both the Alford family and even more my current family, we were not really into witches, goblins, or ghouls too much. It's just not our bag. So I'm pretty sure it was a Grizzly Adams / Daniel Boone type character, and probably involved knives, guns, or hatchets. I mean, and aside, to give you an idea how schools has changed in me, I still am a voracious reader, and in school you usually won something. And in second grade, I was the biggest reader in the class, except for one girl. There's always a girl. But for the guys, I read more books than anybody. And so the teacher asked me what I wanted. It had to be a certain price range, and I wanted a hatchet. And they asked my parents and gave me one as a second grader. So I got a real hatchet that I used until a few years ago when I lost it. Can you imagine today a teacher giving a second grade student a hatchet to take home to their parents? Things have changed.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly today.
And I had a gun in the back of my seat. Not in second grade, but once I got a pickup, I did.
Right. So you mentioned your parents. Tell me, how is your mom doing today, this week? I know I personally, anytime I get a chance to talk to her, she is a hoot. So how has she been during this quarantine?
Well, we knew that the quarantine was getting to her a little bit because my wife actually hugged her. Those of you who know my mom, she's not a real big hugger. And she said, "Boy, that was really nice. It's been 3 months." But she's been really healthy. Mom's 87. Melanie, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm terrible on birthdays. But she's been staying at home. As a lot of y'all know, David lives with her. He has the upstairs half of the house, and she has the downstairs, and they share the kitchen. But she's still getting around really well. She's actually doing better. Melanie has been on them to gain. I don't need to ever gain weight, but my mom is a small woman, and so they have her on an eating schedule, and it's actually been working really good. And we spent some time there Saturday before we went to the pool over at Pat and Mel's house, and she was doing wonderful. She was mom.
That is awesome. So we'll switch gears a little bit. Tell me your thought when you were first pitched the idea of being a bobblehead.
Well, my first thought was it was stupid because I didn't know much about bobbleheads except for little dogs in the back of certain cars. So anyway, our marketing person at the time, talked about it and said they wanted to, give it to people to take around. So I got to travel around the United States and the world actually more as a bobblehead than I've ever got to do. And I've got to travel pretty good as a real person. But the only time I'm really reminded of the bobblehead now is when I go to Ken Sanders' office because I'm on the shelf over there. So I still, remember that. But it actually ended up being quite fun. I got put in some really fun places. Somehow the guys snuck me into, forget which casino it was, but they have a place with a huge bobblehead collection of famous people, and somehow they managed to get me in the middle of collection, so I got to be next to more famous people than I'll ever get to be next to, and a lot of fun things like that. Did more beach time, by the way, than I ever plan on doing. So it was kind of fun and goofy.
Yes, yes. Yeah, there's quite a few pictures, and I believe Ken Sanders paid quite the pretty penny.
It went to charity.
Yeah, we raised a lot of money for charity, so that was really cool too. Um, let's go to show site. Tell me, what is your, can you think of like a crazy memory from show site, just off the wall?
Well, hard to think of off the cuff, but lots of crazy show site. My first thing when you said show site is I want to get back to one. My mind goes there at least once a day and probably 100 times a day. But over the years, there's been a lot of crazy show site stuff, and a lot of them were further back, quite honestly, when things were harder to do, when we were making more stuff up. A lot of times with my good friend Jim Kirk, he got us into some pretty crazy situations, and it was back in the early 80s. We did the opening to NAB, and back then we didn't have computers, and I had to bid this show that originally was 100 slide projectors, multiple film projectors, out of fours. Ended up bidding it 6 times, top secret, because nobody knew anybody else had the business. But it was actually his first show, as far as I know, that he got, and it was a very large show. It was 54 slide projectors and 5 film projectors, and it was the first time. I've done it many times since, but we projected on liquid nitrogen screens, and had people come through, revealed through liquid nitrogen screens, so that was pretty cool. Jim was actually part of the entertainment. And lasers back then were not the small packed lens we have today. They were huge. And we actually had fiber optics run up his pants and out his hands so he could shoot things down. And getting all of that done. And I was hired as a consultant. We actually didn't have the rental. And the union guys in Vegas wired all of the projectors in one continuous stream. Of course, nothing was working, so the consultant was called in, and I unplugged every third one. And ever since then, they've actually thought that I had technical skills. That's pretty much all I did. Of course, there were events like Coke's 100th anniversary, where it was 2 weeks on site at that time, and I believe still the largest, if not one of the largest corporate event held, with literally everything from animals on stage to cars to people. And that happened to be the week prior to my one and only marriage, the woman I'm still married to. So that was a little stressful getting that done. But we've had elephants on stage over the years, children, both of which, by the way, are bad ideas. Animals in general are a bad idea. Somebody the other day was talking about having animals here at Alford for an event to raise money, and we said that was fine, and somebody was laughing about a dog getting loose, and I said, I've been on a show where a bull got loose in the Hyatt Ballroom, and I was one of the few people not scared to help get the bull back in. So a lot of crazy times and a lot of great memories with some great people.
Heck yes. And then I think we'll make this our last question, because we've been talking for almost 30 minutes now. So the question we have is, what is your favorite recipe to cook? I know that's got to be hard for you because you cook a million different things, but maybe something that you've made recently out at the farm. What is a good recipe?
Well, you're right. Favorite's pretty tough. It's not necessarily my favorite, but I've been practicing bread since I've been home with this COVID thing and having to be home. So my wife's son and neighbors have had a lot of sourdough bread in many different forms. Most popular with the wife is cinnamon bread. Most popular with the son and me is jalapeno cheese, all made the same. But I guess my go-to, everybody knows I do barbecues on a large scale. My smoker out at the farm that we just built is 8 feet long, 40 inches deep. And we can cook quite a lot, so I guess I'm most known for doing that. But probably my go-to, which I actually did a recipe exchange with some producer friends and everything, is probably red beans and rice. You can feed a crowd. Not everybody, but most everybody always likes it. And a ton of vegetables and sausage. What's not to like? So that's probably my go-to recipe for big crowds when I'm not doing barbecue. So that's my favorite recipes. Anybody wants to talk recipes, by the way, as Rachel said, I have lots. That's definitely probably my main hobby is cooking when I'm not doing AV or not hunting or fishing, so I can choose something to cook. So always happy to discuss that. Look forward to talking to all of y'all in person soon. And until then, we'll continue to do things like this. And you going to take us out of here, Rach?
Yeah, I think so. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. And if there's anything that you think of later that you want to ask TA, we do plan to do this again. So do send us your questions. You can comment on this Facebook live stream, email them to me or Tom, and we will talk live again next time. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.